As part of the Alabama Bicentennial celebration, this outdoor classroom was created, and it has a lot of history behind it. So I can't wait for you guys to hear about it today.
Welcome to our outdoor classroom!
First off, before I get started, I would like to thank the Alabama Bicentennial Commission for granting us the money to allow us to complete our project, as well as Pickett Construction, Senator Ward, Representative Weaver, Matt Fritty, Ashley Springer McLaughlin from Keller Williams. Thank you all so much for your donations that you made and being our sponsors. But it started decades ago when I was a kid, and hearing all the history that Thompson had to offer with my mom. And I have this photo here, and it's really neat because I asked my kids, who do you think this is? And they laugh and they say, well, that's you. And I said, no, it's not me, it's my mom. And this is on our playground currently at the current Thompson Intermediate School. And what I like to point out is the history of it all. Like, this was a dirt road, and this is the gymnasium, and notice there's no building here at all. So Mr. Byers and I kind of talked about a project, and the Alabama Bicentennial Commission came to the educators across the state and said, you can apply to be an Alabama Bicentennial school. Well, I'd already done lots of research as far as who was TC Thompson, because I would often ask my kids, why are we called Thompson? Does anybody know? And nobody knew, and that made my heart very sad, and I often didn't know why. So that made me want to research. And so that's when I contacted Mr. Seals and Dr. Harrison, because my mom, she told me that there was a book that they wrote in 1975 and interviewed several people about the Thompson area. And so that is what stemmed the project. And then from there, I said, what would you like to see done, Mr. Byers? And he said, we need an outdoor classroom. And I said, well, this is the perfect thing to do. How about we make a replica of Mr. Thompson's old farmhouse that's no longer there anymore, so the kids can get to know who they are in their community, in their back door. Because how are we supposed to teach history if they don't understand the world around them currently? It started about 2.5 years ago, and like I said, working with the Alabama 200 Commission, the project came to be where you could apply. You had to write a grant, and out of 400 applicants, 200 were selected across the state. We're in the runnings for School of Excellence, which will be declared in December of 2019, when Alabama's 200th birthday takes place. And so we kind of just said, well, what does our school need? What do our teachers need? What do our students need? And it started from there. And what I want to note about this project is this is not just our TIS Alabama 200 committee project. This is a conservation area where other things, we are already in the works of planning other things and other grants being written. And I've had teachers come to me, can I? Yes, please do. This is your area to let your ideas kind of unfold. Well, I've had some teachers tell me, I'm going to do Fresh Air Fridays, where we get to come outside and read a book or study projects, where the teachers may present a project, or vice versa, where the students are actually delivering a project. We've talked about applying for a historical marker grant to let the community know, who was this person? Why was he so well known around our community? And I think one of my students said it great. Ms. Brighthead, our school was established in 1921. Didn't you know that was during the Great Depression? And that to me is remarkable, to hear that this man established a school during the Great Depression. And that just tells you his drive right there.
Well, as the ambassador for the Alabama Bicentennial Commission, I had the opportunity to meet Amber Broadhead and to be able to serve on the committee. What was so amazing to me, I remember the first committee meeting we had. Here was all these teachers at Thompson Intermediate School. So they introduced themselves and told us how they were connected to Thompson. And some of them's grandmother was my teacher when I attended Thompson. I knew some of them from going to school with their either parents or grandparents. But it's been a pleasure to work with Amber and with the Thompson Intermediate School to complete this project.
Well, we lived in the Thompson plantation until I was a senior and graduated from Thompson. So I was a Thompson alum, and it was a very rewarding to live there. And what I like about this project is the fact that Mr. Thompson's legacy will continue on through this project. He was very community oriented in the community, and he saw that this would be a great place for people to raise and nurture their families. And so I think with this project, his legacy will continue.
Well, one thing that Mr. Thompson did that a lot of people don't know, back when the county did not have enough money to pay their teachers, those schools would have to close. Mr. Thompson paid out of his own pocket to keep those teachers there and for them to continue to teach and educate these students here in Siluria. Well, we have a lot of Alabama Bicentennial events coming. In July, we will go to Huntsville and celebrate the signing of the Alabama Constitution. It will be 200 years old then. And then the 50-year moon landing, we'll celebrate that. But the grand finale will be on December the 13th and 14th, 2019 in Montgomery. And on December the 13th, we'll kick off with a reception, and then on December the 14th, we'll have a big parade in Montgomery, and then we will dedicate the Bicentennial Park that we've been working on, which is something great, and it's in front of the state capitol. And I'm so thankful that Thompson participated and became part of this program. We have various departments or segments of Alabama 200, and the segment here is focused on education. And education is so important, and to teach these children about Alabama and the Alabama history that's lost. I think it's wonderful.
Over 40 years ago, I was a young teacher at Thompson High School in the old building, and I was teaching a very dull geography class. And students, including Margaret Cost, who was one of my students, asked questions about doing a local project about the Thompson place. And I put my hand up and I said, I don't have time for that. We got to study geography. To make a long story short, they won. They led me on a walking tour. I took all the kids over there to the old Thompson place. It was in a bad state of disarray, and we started writing our oral histories, and we ended up publishing a little book called Good Morning Yesterday, and this is in 1976-77. We sold over 1,000 copies. It went out of print, and recently this wonderful student I had many years ago retyped the book and sent it to I guess an Amazon printer, and it's now for sale again, and it's about the history of that place and the early history of Alabaster and Siluria and a lot of other stories. It's an oral history project, and you know what, Cam? It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, it wasn't hard. She really loves local history, and she really wanted to preserve the history around the community here. And it was a learning experience for all of us, because I didn't know why Thompson was named Thompson, and I'm sure most of the students at the school didn't know either. So it was easy to change her mind. I actually did the story on the Thompson place. My dad was friends with Mr. Thompson's grandson, Carlisle Weller, and we tracked him down in Birmingham. And
Tell him where you found him.
I don't remember. I guess he was at a service station or whatever. But we tracked him down, and he came to the school one evening. We had a whole group there in the library, and we just sat there and listened to him tell us the history of his grandfather's, the mill and the house and all about his life in Siluria. Well, we did reproduce the book. Thompson High School it is 99 years old this year, or Thompson Schools, and they'll be celebrating 100 years next year. So we wanted to put the book out. There's so many people that have come to this community that moved here that don't know the history of Thompson, and so
it ties in with the Bicentennial and also, letting everybody know the history of the school.
We've been wanting to have an outdoor classroom space at TIS for a while, and of course, moving schools, we didn't want to build a structure at our current location that we couldn't move. And so, as Amber and I started talking about just the Bicentennial Committee and a project and what we could do, I kind of mentioned to her the idea of an outdoor classroom space. And so she said, what a cool idea, because she had been researching and looking at history, and so she had been looking at just history of the old, Thompson plantation, the old Thompson house. And so we came up with the idea of, hey, let's build a classroom, structure, an outdoor classroom similar to, or kind of a replica of that house. And so we started talking about the idea, what it could look like, what the structure would look like, talking to our teachers about just having an outdoor classroom space. And so it's so cool to just see it come to fruition, after all that. Pickett Construction did an excellent job of, building the structure. And I'm just excited for our teachers and our students to have the opportunity to come outside to learn, because sometimes being in the indoors all day is not, the best as far as conducive for some of our students for learning. So to be able to get them outside and to have, just a really neat space, it's not only just an outdoor classroom, but, it has the history that it has. And then our teachers, because we learn about Alabama history in 4th grade, can really discuss and talk about that with our students as well.
Well, 4th grade for our students is the year to learn about Alabama history. So not only are we able to make a connection between Alabama's history, but our local Alabaster history. They can learn about our school system, learn about our city, and make that connection in our big world. So as a teacher, this space is perfect for that opportunity. It's helped me understand the community better. Being an outsider from the community, I've learned so much about our city, about the school system, about the history of Thompson itself. So now I can take that and spread it to my kids. Having a space like this allows me to help my kids learn better and have a deeper understanding of where we came from and why it's important to know ourselves.
Well, when Amber Broadhead contacted me with much excitement and desperation to get it started, I was immediately drawn in. We're from here, we're a family business, and many generations of us have come through the city and schools, so it was important to me to make it a point to complete this project and to make everybody involved happy.
I've heard it for a couple of years now. I remember that most of the time on our ride home from school that I just hear my mom talking on the phone about how much she really wanted an outdoor classroom.
It's exciting. It brings out social studies for most of 4th grade and 5th grade for us, and it means a lot to me.
Tell me how.
Like I said, it brings out social studies, and it also shows how young our state is compared to other states.
It's good. It's a better way to learn because you get to be outside, and it's better than sitting in a classroom all day. Maybe like lunch out here sometime. That could be fun.
Do any of you else have anything to add as far as planning for your teachers next year? Okay.
I'd like to do some activities outside, like experiments in science, or maybe reading a book outside.
Ellie?
I think the best thing to do out here is like to just teach like normal class you teach inside. Like you could teach a math class out here, a reading class, read a book to your students, or even just have them look around the field and just find things in nature and learn about them.
I'd really like to see them just utilize it, kind of like the students have said, just as a space where they can get outside, get out of the classroom, get out of the indoors, because so much learning, takes place indoors. It's awesome to have the opportunity to have a structure like this where we can get outside and we can utilize it. A lot of our students, just being out of the classroom and just being able to spread out outside, being out here, being outdoors, will give them the opportunity to, just kind of be in more of a relaxed environment, so to speak, and just to be able to, especially if they're doing something related to, as Rob said, reading or doing some writing, doing something of that nature where the teacher's not necessarily teaching, then they can spread out here and have the opportunity to do that. And so I'm really excited about that for our students. But then also our teachers can come out and do, like Allie Gray said, they can teach a lesson out here. They can teach class out here. And so we're going to be adding, some different things out here that will help them in being able to do that. But I'm really excited about it just because in the state of Alabama, we can come outside for most of the school year. There's not a lot of the school year that we won't be able to come out here. And so it's going to be a space that we can utilize and should be utilized every single day.
When talking to my teachers about what Alabama history means to them, we're so much more than a textbook. We're so much more than a newspaper. And I think Fry Gaillard says it best. He says, "I think history is always a story. Some people want to make it into a list of names, dates, and places, but it shouldn't be. It's the record of real people doing real things that mattered in their lives that helped to shape ours." And this is what this project's been about. All of us have a legacy here. Come here and tell your legacy. And remember Mr. TC Thompson when you do it.
Happy birthday, Alabama! Woo!
What an honor it's been to talk to everyone today and to hear some history about Thompson, about Alabaster, and about us being a part of the Bicentennial celebration.